Welcome to Just Say It. Learn real English through conversations and practice. Easy English, real conversations, practice and repeat. Just say it.
Hi there, and welcome to Just Say It, the English podcast for beginners and everyday learners. In today's episode, we're talking about feelings and emotions in English. You'll learn how to say things like, I'm happy, I'm tired, or I'm nervous, and how to ask others how they feel too. Listen, repeat, and start speaking with confidence. Let's get started. Welcome to the deep dive. So while our intro sort of sets the stage for those basic building blocks, today we're really going to plunge much deeper. We're diving into the incredibly rich and, let's be honest, sometimes complex world of English emotional expression.
That's right. It's a huge topic.
Yeah, it is. And our mission here really is to help you, our listener, move way beyond just knowing a few basic words like happy or sad. We want to equip you to truly convey what you feel inside and, maybe just as crucially, to really understand the subtleties when others express their feelings.
Reading between the lines almost.
Exactly. So we've been digging through, a stack of interesting articles, some linguistic research, cultural notes, trying to find the really impactful stuff for this deep dive.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is that, well, emotions themselves are universal, right? We all feel joy, sadness, anger.
Sure.
But how we express them, that's so deeply tangled up with culture and, of course, language. Being able to articulate your feelings, it's not just about having a bigger vocabulary list. It's actually, well, it's the bedrock for building real, authentic connections. In any language, really.
That makes sense.
When you can say exactly how happy you are or how frustrated or show genuine empathy or even admit you're feeling a bit unsure, your conversations suddenly go beyond just swapping facts.
Right. They become more human.
Exactly. They become pathways for sincerity, for showing urgency when needed, for real empathy, and for reaching, a much deeper level of mutual understanding. It changes everything from just talking at someone
To actually connecting with them.
Precisely, on a truly human level.
That's a really powerful way to put it, and it feels particularly vital for anyone learning English, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Getting this right can genuinely transform your interactions.
How so? Can you give an example?
Well, think about it. If you express your feelings accurately, using the right nuance, you sound warmer, more engaged, genuinely polite. But if you lack that nuance, or maybe use a word that's slightly off, you might accidentally come across as, well, maybe reserved or indifferent, or sometimes even unintentionally rude, even if you mean well.
Yeah, I can see how that could happen easily, especially across cultures.
Exactly. So this isn't just about sounding like a native speaker, what does that mean? It's fundamental in, well, pretty much every situation. Important meetings at work, just chilling with friends at social gatherings, navigating tricky intercultural moments.
It really covers everything.
It does. Mastering how to talk about emotions, it's a foundational skill for any kind of meaningful communication.
Okay, so let's tackle something specific then. A really common point of confusion we hear about a lot from learners. It perfectly illustrates that subtle power of grammar, specifically tense. It's the difference between asking, how do you feel, and how are you feeling?
Ah, yes. That's a classic one.
Right. Many learners are taught how do you feel in textbooks, the simple present. But then you listen to native speakers, watch movies, TV shows, and you hear, how are you feeling all the time?
Very common.
So what is the difference? Is one wrong? Are they interchangeable? What's the deal?
That's a great question, and it really gets into the dynamic nature of English. It shows how tiny grammatical shifts can subtly change the meaning. First off, both are perfectly correct grammatically, and both are widely used. But they do carry slightly different implications or nuances.
Okay, nuances. Like what?
Well, how do you feel? The simple present often relates to something more general, maybe more habitual, or even a philosophical state. It can ask about a more permanent condition or an opinion, or just a direct sensory feeling right now.
Can you give examples?
Sure. You might ask a doctor, how do you feel about this proposed treatment plan? That's asking for an opinion, a considered view.
Okay.
Or you might say, just factual, I feel cold, describing a physical sensation. It can also be a deeper, more personal question about someone's general disposition, their overall state of being, or even their core beliefs, like, how do you feel about living in the city? Asking about a general preference or state.
So more general, maybe longer term.
Often, yes, or about opinions or immediate physical facts. Now, contrast that with, how are you feeling? This one uses the present continuous tense. And that ing form is key. It usually points to something temporary, something potentially changing, something happening right now or around now.
So more immediate, more in the moment.
Exactly. It's very frequently used for emotional states that might fluctuate or for physical conditions that are ongoing, perhaps evolving, like recovering from something.
Okay, so if someone looks visibly upset,
You most naturally ask, hey, how are you feeling right now? Or simply, how are you feeling?
right, or if a friend had surgery.
Perfect example. You'd ask, how are you feeling since the operation? Or how are you feeling today? Because their condition is likely changing day by day. The continuous tense emphasizes the current, dynamic, maybe even fleeting nature of that feeling or condition. It's like asking about the feeling in progress.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's subtle, but definite.
It is.
So the main takeaway for you, our listener, is what? Both are okay, but maybe lean towards one.
Essentially, yes, both are correct. But the continuous tense, how are you feeling, is generally the more common and natural choice when you're asking about someone's immediate emotional state, especially if it seems temporary, or about their current physical condition, particularly during recovery.
Got it.
Understanding this little nuance helps you pick the right question for the right situation. It makes your English sound more natural, more empathetic.
It's those little details, isn't it? They make a big difference.
They really do. It elevates your communication.
All right, let's broaden out again then. Let's dive deeper into the actual words, the vocabulary, the rich tapestry, as they say, of emotional language in English. Because getting the grammar right is one part, but you need the words too, right?
Absolutely. You need the colors for your palette.
Exactly. And English has this huge, vast vocabulary for emotions. It covers everything from just feeling mildly okay, content.
All the way to profound grief or ecstatic joy.
Yeah. So let's start by mapping out the main categories, maybe look at some foundational words in each, and then we can get into the really colorful stuff, the idioms and phrases.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
And if we link this back to the bigger idea, learning these core words is like getting your primary colors sorted before you start mixing all the complex shades.
Right.
So let's start with the positive side. Happiness and joy. We obviously have happy, the basic one.
The classic.
But from there, it expands. You could be joyful, maybe about a special occasion. You might feel excited, anticipating something fun, like a holiday, or thrilled by some really great unexpected news.
Like getting a promotion.
Exactly. Then you can ramp it up even more. Someone might be ecstatic, just absolutely bursting with happiness, or generally cheerful, meaning they have a consistently bright mood.
Right.
You could be delighted by a thoughtful gift or a pleasant surprise, or truly overjoyed at a deeply meaningful event, like the birth of a child. Each word captures a different level, a different flavor of positive feeling.
It's quite a spectrum just for happiness.
It is. Now, shifting gears to sadness and grief. Again, a rich vocabulary here, beyond just sad.
Which can mean a lot of things.
It can. You might be upset after a small argument, or disappointed if something you hoped for didn't happen,
Yeah, like failing a test.
or losing a game. Then there's heartbroken, which implies much deeper pain, usually from loss or betrayal.
A very strong word.
Very. Deeper still, you might talk about clinical depression, which is a serious condition, or feeling miserable because of ongoing bad luck or circumstances. There's also melancholy, which suggests a kind of quiet, thoughtful sadness.
More reflective.
Yes. And more colloquially, you might just say someone is feeling down today, suggesting a temporary low mood. Again, it's a whole range from mild blues to deep sorrow.
Okay, how about anger and frustration? We all feel those too.
Oh, definitely. And English reflects the different intensities. You can be simply angry about something unfair, or feel frustrated when you're stuck and can't make progress. You might be mildly annoyed by a dripping tap or irritated when your plans get disrupted.
Those feel quite common everyday levels.
They are. But then you can escalate. Someone might become furious or enraged by a serious injustice, or utterly exasperated after dealing with a difficult person or problem for a long time.
That feeling of being at your wit's end.
Exactly. And informally, especially in American English, people might just say they're mad at someone, which is quite direct and strong.
Right, got it. What's next? Fear.
Yes, fear and anxiety, powerful emotions, and the language reflects that. You could be afraid of something specific, like spiders, or simply scared, like a child might be scared of the dark. But the feeling can intensify. You could be terrified by a sudden dangerous situation, or feel really nervous before giving a public speech.
Butterflies in the stomach.
That's the one. We'll come back to that idiom. For ongoing worry, we use anxious, maybe about the future or something uncertain. We're simply worried about someone's health or safety. In extreme moments of overwhelm, Someone could become panic-stricken, or you might just have a persistent, uneasy feeling like something isn't quite right.
So many ways to feel unsafe or worried.
Indeed. And lastly, let's touch on love and affection. Beautiful emotions, also with a lovely range of expression.
Beyond just love.
Oh yes, you might adore your children or pets. You could be fond of a particular place or hobby. You might cherish special memories or relationships.
Those sound quite warm.
They are. When talking about how people behave, someone might be naturally affectionate, physically warm with hugs or pats. You can feel deeply attached to someone or something important. And devoted implies a really strong, loyal commitment, like being devoted to a cause or a partner.
Okay, so those are the core building blocks. Very useful.
A great foundation.
But you mentioned earlier that English really comes alive with the more vivid expressions, right? The idioms.
Exactly. This is where the language gets really colorful and, well, expressive. Idioms paint pictures. They make conversations more engaging, more memorable.
So let's get into those. How do they work with emotions?
Well, what's really striking is how common they are in everyday chat. They aren't just fancy extras. They often convey the feeling more effectively, more emotionally, than a direct translation might.
Okay, let's break them down. Maybe start with happiness idioms.
Good idea. A classic one is being over the moon. It means you're incredibly happy, just ecstatic or delighted.
Like you're floating.
Yeah, the image is perfect for that feeling of elation. You might say, when I found out I got the job, I was absolutely over the moon. It's similar to thrilled, but maybe more visual.
I like that. What else?
On cloud nine. Very similar meaning, extremely happy, euphoric. Again, it's that idea of floating, being so light with joy.
Like after winning something big.
Exactly. Winning the lottery would definitely put someone on cloud nine. It's in the same family as feeling in seventh heaven or on top of the world, all suggesting a sublime state of happiness.
Okay. Are there more active ones?
Definitely. People might jump for joy. They're not literally doing gymnastics usually. It just means showing extreme happiness or excitement physically.
Like kids when school's out.
Perfect example. Or adults getting fantastic news. And if you're walking on air, you feel so happy and light, it's like your feet aren't even touching the ground. Maybe after getting a wonderful compliment or achieving a goal, you're overjoyed, ecstatic.
In seventh heaven, you mentioned that sounds almost religious.
It has that connotation of supreme bliss, yeah. Extreme happiness, contentment. Winning the championship put the whole town in seventh heaven.
And I love this next one, like a dog with two tails.
Isn't it great? So visual.
Yeah.
It means extremely happy, drawing on how dogs wag their tails furiously when they're excited. It suggests this uncontrollable, bubbly happiness.
I just passed my driving test. I feel like a dog with two tails.
Perfect. Then there's full of the joys of spring. This captures delight, energy, enthusiasm, like a rebirth of vitality.
Like when the weather finally gets nice.
Exactly. Or starting a new, exciting relationship. I feel full of the joys of spring lately. And a happy camper is someone totally satisfied, content with things, not complaining.
Often used negatively, right? He's not a happy camper.
Very often. But positively, my friend loves his new apartment. He's such a happy camper.
Okay, what about celebrating happiness?
Well, if you're really happy and want to celebrate big time with friends, you might paint the town red.
Go out and have a wild time.
Pretty much. Lively, fun, maybe a bit noisy celebration. We finished a project, let's go paint the town red tonight.
Sounds fun and feel like $1 million.
That's feeling really healthy, energetic, great. Often after a good night's sleep or recovering from being ill. Wow, that star day was amazing. I feel like $1 million.
Similar to full of beans.
Very similar. Full of beans means lively, energetic, often used for kids bouncing around, but adults can feel it too. Full of energy and life.
It's amazing how many images are used. Floating, wagging, spring.
That's the power of idioms. They make the feeling tangible.
Okay, great stuff for happiness. Now, the flip side. How does English use idioms for sadness? It's just as important to express those feelings well.
Absolutely. So if someone is down in the dumps, they're feeling sad, gloomy, maybe a bit depressed. It focuses on the low mood.
Like after a breakup?
Yeah, or losing something important. Sarah was really down in the dumps after her cat ran away. In the dumps means exactly the same. Tom was in the dumps after failing the exam again. Just general gloominess.
And feeling blue, that's a famous one.
Very famous. Feeling blue or having the blues. Strongly linked to sadness, a bad mood, sometimes mild depression. Feeling blue works for yourself or others. I was feeling blue yesterday.
Yep.
Have the blues is maybe more often used about other people. She seems to have the blues today.
Okay, what about that visual one you mentioned down in the mouth?
Ah, yes. Fascinating usage here. It's purely descriptive of how someone looks sad, like their mouth is literally turned down.
Like a frown.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the key thing is, you only use it to describe someone else. You'd never say, I feel down in the mouth.
Really? Why not?
It just sounds unnatural. You'd say, she looks a bit down in the mouth today. I wonder what's wrong. It's an observation of appearance.
Interesting distinction. What about regret?
For dwelling on things you can't change, there's cry over spilled milk. It's usually advice not to do it.
Like, okay, you made a mistake, but no use crying over spilled milk now.
Precisely. It's about moving on from unchangeable past events. And if something makes you extremely sad, it might reduce you to tears.
Makes you cry.
Yes. The cruelty in that documentary reduced me to tears. And that physical sensation when you're about to cry.
Oh, yeah, the tighten.
That's having a lump in your throat. You get it from strong emotion, sadness, but also sometimes profound happiness or pride, like during a moving speech. His tribute was so heartfelt, I had a lump in my throat.
I know that feeling. And if the tears really flow.
Then you might cry your eyes out. Meaning to cry a lot, uncontrollably for a long time. She cried her eyes out when her favorite character died in the book.
Intense crying.
Very intense.
Yeah.
And one more, quite British. Face like a wet weekend.
Huh. What does that mean?
It means looking really glum, miserable, depressed. Like bad weather has ruined your plans and your mood. Cheer up, why the face like a wet weekend? It captures that specific kind of miserable look.
That's brilliantly descriptive. Okay, moving from sad to mad, what about idioms for anger and frustration?
English has some really punchy ones here. If someone gets extremely angry, very suddenly they might hit the ceiling.
Like an explosion.
Exactly. A sudden, forceful outburst. When Dad saw the dent in his new car, he hit the ceiling. It's similar to losing your temper or blowing your top.
And make one's blood boil. Sounds painful.
It evokes that feeling of intense rising anger, like your insides are heating up with rage. The way they treated him just made my blood boil. It suggests real fury.
Okay. Are there phrasal verbs too?
Loads of them, often more informal. If something persistently bothers or upsets you, it might get to you. His constant complaining is really starting to get to me. Or you can wind somebody up, which often means deliberately annoying or provoking them.
Like teasing, but it can go too far.
Yes. My brother loves winding me up before I have to do something important.
Yeah.
And then there's the very direct, informal one.
Piss somebody off.
That's it. Very common in informal speech, movies. Means to make someone angry or really irritate them. His arrogance just pisses me off. It's strong.
Definitely not for formal situations.
Absolutely not. Then you have work somebody up, meaning to make them angry or agitated. If you work yourself up, it means getting overly worried or stressed. Try not to work yourself up about the presentation.
Good advice.
Another common one is tick somebody off. Similar to annoy or make angry, maybe slightly less intense than piss off. It ticks me off when people are late without calling.
And if the anger explodes outwards,
Then someone might blow up. A sudden sharp burst of anger, often with yelling. She completely blew up at him over a tiny mistake.
and freak out. That sounds more general.
It is. Freak out can mean losing control due to anger, but also surprise, excitement, or intense fear. Don't freak out, but I lost the keys, or I'm freaking out, I'm so excited about the concert. Context is key.
Right.
And finally, to lash out at somebody. This means attacking someone verbally, yelling angrily, often unfairly. In extreme cases, it could even imply physical aggression. He was under a lot of stress and lashed out at his team.
Wow, lots of ways to be angry. What about calming down?
Thankfully, yes. After anger, you can calm down, or more informally, chill out. Both mean to become relaxed, less emotional, regain control.
Needed that after all the anger. Okay, let's move to nervousness, anxiety, and fear. Another big area with lots of idioms.
Huge area. And very visceral emotions often. If you're waiting anxiously for news, you might be on pins and needles.
Like it's physically uncomfortable.
Yes, that feeling of jittery tension and anticipation. I was on pins and needles waiting for the exam results.
And the famous butterflies in my stomach.
The classic. That fluttery, nervous feeling inside, usually before something important like a performance or an interview. Very common physical manifestation of nerves.
Everyone knows that one. What about really strong fear?
If you're extremely frightened, you might be scared out of your wits. It's hyperbole, meaning terrified to the point you can barely think straight.
Like after a big shock.
Exactly. The sudden power cut in the creepy old house scared me out of my wits. Similarly, shaking in my boots expresses fear so strong it makes you tremble. It's informal.
The angry dog barked so loudly I was shaking in my boots.
Perfect. And someone who is timid and easily frightened might be described as afraid of their own shadow.
Meaning they're scared of everything.
Pretty much. Overly cautious, lacking courage. He won't even answer the door. He's afraid of his own shadow.
Okay, what about life-threatening fear? Or feeling like it is?
For that extreme feeling, you might say you were frightened to death. Again, usually hyperbole, but conveys overwhelming fear. When the turbulence hit, I was frightened to death.
And the heart thing. My heart skipped a beat.
Yes.
Oh.
That's for a sudden, sharp jolt of fear or anxiety, often from surprise. My heart skipped a beat when I heard someone downstairs. Interestingly, it can also be used for sudden excitement or attraction.
Context again.
Always. But if the danger is real and serious, you might genuinely be fearful for my life. This isn't hyperbole. It's expressing a real concern for safety. Trapped in the fire, I was fearful for my life.
A very serious phrase.
Absolutely. For intense fear that makes you freeze, you can be scared stiff. You're so scared you can't move. Seeing the snake on the path scared me stiff.
Or petrified.
Yes, petrified with fear is even stronger, more formal perhaps, meaning frozen, unable to react due to terror. The hostage was petrified with fear.
And quaking in my shoes. Like boots.
Exactly the same idea as shaking in my boots. Intense fear causing trembling. Colloquial. Waiting to see the head teacher, I was quaking in my shoes.
One more. My blood ran cold. Sounds chilling.
It describes that sudden, intense feeling of dread or horror, often from a shocking realization. My blood ran cold when I realized I was being followed. It's quite dramatic.
Definitely. What about describing the situation itself?
You might call it a fearsome situation.
Yeah.
This describes the circumstances as fear-inducing rather than your personal feeling. More formal. Climbing the mountain in a blizzard was a fearsome situation.
Wow. English really covers fear from all angles.
It certainly does. The nuance is incredible.
So beyond these specific emotion categories, are there idioms for more general emotional situations or actions driven by emotion?
Yes, quite a few useful ones that describe how people handle or display emotions generally. For instance, someone who shows their feelings very openly is said to wear their heart on their sleeve.
They don't hide anything.
Exactly. Very transparent, maybe vulnerable. You always know where you stand with Sarah. She wears her heart on her sleeve.
What if you're totally overwhelmed?
If you've reached your limit, run out of patience or options, you're at the end of your rope. Utterly fed up, exhausted. After dealing with complaints all day, the manager was at the end of her rope.
They've been there. And regretting something.
You might kick yourself. Feeling annoyed or remorseful about a mistake or missed opportunity. I could kick myself for selling that stock too early.
Oh, yeah. And dealing with consequences.
That's facing the music, accepting the unpleasant results of your actions. He knew he'd been caught cheating and had to face the music.
What about staying calm under pressure?
The classic British one is to keep a stiff upper lip, meaning to stay brave and composed, hide your fear or distress, show fortitude.
Very stoic.
Yes. But if you're naturally calm, especially in a crisis, you might be cool as a cucumber. Unflustered, composed. Despite the emergency, the surgeon remained cool as a cucumber.
Nice contrast. What if a whole group is angry?
Then they might be up in arms about something. Collectively outraged or protesting. The community was up in arms over the planned library closure.
And giving up.
That's throwing in the towel.
Yeah.
Surrendering, quitting, usually after trying hard. He tried fixing the car all weekend, then finally threw in the towel.
Okay. What about annoying someone?
If you irritate someone, often unintentionally, you might rub them the wrong way. His sense of humor just rubs me the wrong way.
And making peace. Or starting conversations.
Two crucial social ones. To start a conversation in an awkward situation is to break the ice. Telling a joke helped break the ice at the awkward dinner party. And to make peace after a fight is to bury the hatchet.
Isn't it time you two buried the hatchet?
Okay, that's a fantastic range. But I noticed some idiom lists include things that aren't direct emotions, like...
That's true. Sometimes lists group things loosely. You might see, kick the bucket, which means to die. Obviously, death causes strong emotions, but the idiom itself isn't an emotion.
Right. Or have a green thumb, meaning good at gardening. Again, gardening might make you happy, but the idiom describes a skill. Or butter someone up, meaning to flatter them to get something. That's an action, often driven by self-interest, not a core emotion itself.
So it's good to distinguish the emotion idioms from others.
Definitely. And just seeing the sheer number of words, and think of lists with exuberant, bewildered, incensed, petrified, stifled. It just shows the incredible depth English offers. It's not just happy and angry, it's all the subtle shades in between.
That precision must be key for real connection.
Absolutely critical for nuanced, authentic communication. It lets you say not just what you feel, but how intensely, in what specific way.
Okay, incredible range of words and idioms. But knowing them is one thing. How do you actually use them? How do you structure sentences naturally to talk about feelings?
Good question. Let's break down some common, useful sentence patterns. It's often simpler than you think.
Okay, the basics first.
The most direct way is using I feel or I'm feeling. Simple subject, verb, adjective, noun.
I feel happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or using the continuous for something perhaps more temporary. I'm feeling sad today.
I feel excited. I'm feeling anxious.
Perfect. That's your foundation. Straightforward, universally understood.
What if you want to say why you feel that way? Link it to a cause.
Then you use the structure, it makes me, or it made me. This clearly connects an external thing to your internal feeling.
Okay, like, it makes me angry when
My people are late. Yes. Or it made me happy to see you.
That sad movie always makes me cry.
Exactly. His comment made me feel upset. It gives context, explains the trigger for the emotion. Very useful.
All right. Any other simple ways to just state how you feel?
You can just use the verb to be, I am, or I was, with an emotional adjective. Very direct.
I am proud. I was scared.
Precisely. I am so proud of you. I was really scared during the storm. I'm frustrated with this situation. I was nervous before the interview. Simple, clear statement of your state.
Okay, simple structures. But what if the feeling is really strong? Or just a little bit? How do you adjust the intensity?
That's where intensifiers come in. Small words, big impact.
Very.
Very, really, so extremely, incredibly, quite a bit, slightly. They dial the emotion up or down.
So instead of I'm excited, maybe I'm really excited.
Exactly. I'm really excited about the trip. She's very happy with her new job. He's so angry right now. They're extremely proud. Or on the lower end, I'm a bit tired. I feel slightly annoyed. It adds precision to the intensity.
That makes sense. And what about making it more vivid, more descriptive?
That's where you use comparisons, similes, metaphors. You paint a picture with words.
Like the idioms we talked about?
Often, yes. Many idioms or similes or metaphors. But you can create your own too. After quitting, I felt as free as a bird. That's a simile.
I was as nervous as a cat on a hot tin roof.
Classic simile for anxiety. Or a simple comparison. I'm happier now than I was last year. Or a metaphor like the idiom, I felt like I was walking on air. These make the feeling more relatable, more evocative.
So direct statements, linking to cause, using to be, adding intensifiers, and painting pictures. Lots of tools there.
A whole toolkit for expressing yourself.
Okay, we've covered words, idioms, sentence structures, but communication is more than just words, right? What about the nonverbal side?
Oh, absolutely crucial. Nonverbal cues often speak louder than words, communicating emotions instantly, sometimes even unconsciously. Let's dive into that unspoken language.
Where do we start? Body language.
Body language is huge. Think about common signals. Crossing your arms.
Defensive. Or maybe just cold.
Could be either.
Right.
But often defensiveness, frustration, closing off. Contrast that with a genuine open smile.
Happiness, friendliness.
Universally understood. Fidgeting, tapping fingers, shaking a leg.
Nervousness, boredom, discomfort.
All possibilities. Pointing a finger sharply can signal anger or accusation. These visual cues add a whole layer of meaning.
And this varies by culture, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned England earlier. What are some specifics there?
Big-time variations. In English, for instance, personal space is really important. Keep about an arm's length distance in conversation. Getting too close feels intrusive or aggressive.
Good to know. What about eye contact?
Essential for showing you're engaged, but it's a balancing act. Too much intense staring feels confrontational. Too little, avoiding eyes completely, suggests disinterest or shiftiness.
So sort of intermittent, look away briefly, look back.
That's generally the most comfortable rhythm, yes.
Yeah.
Relaxed, intermittent, and hand gestures.
Less dramatic than some cultures.
Generally, yes. More minimal, subtle, controlled. Avoid lots of big, expansive gestures, and definitely avoid aggressive pointing. Posture matters too, especially professionally. Standing tall, shoulders back, conveys confidence.
And politeness. How is that shown non-verbally?
Through small things. A firm but brief handshake, not bone-crushing.
Yeah.
An open posture, not closed off. A relaxed facial expression. A gentle, appropriate touch, like a brief pat on the back for camaraderie, needs care. Respect boundaries.
What about negative signals? How can you tell if someone in England is uncomfortable or disagrees without them saying it?
Look for subtle cues. Crossed arms or legs might indicate defensiveness or disagreement. Leaning back or subtly stepping away could mean they want more space or are disengaging.
Facial cues.
Furrowed brows might show confusion or displeasure. A tight mouth or downturned lips signal unhappiness. Again, persistently avoiding eye contact often signals discomfort, disinterest, or maybe even evasion. Reading these takes practice.
It sounds like a whole second language to learn.
In many ways it is.
Yeah.
Now, related to body language, but maybe even more universal, facial expressions.
The face speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Instantly. Often before we even think. Raised eyebrows.
Surprise, disbelief, asking a question,
All of those. A furrowed brow.
confusion, maybe concentration, frustration,
Right. A frown.
sadness, disapproval,
Yep. And the big one, a genuine, bright, open smile.
joy, approval, warmth, affection, the universal welcome mat.
Beautifully put. And in England, while a certain composure is often valued, a genuine, relaxed smile is incredibly powerful for building rapport and trust. It breaks down barriers.
So body language, facial expressions,
Hmm.
what else? Tone of voice.
Hugely important. The way you say something can completely change or even reverse the meaning of the words.
Like sarcasm.
Sarcasm relies almost entirely on tone. But it's not just sarcasm. Tone conveys joy, anger, sadness, excitement, indifference. It's the music behind the words.
How critical is mastering that intonation in English?
It's incredibly important for accurate emotional expression. The wrong pitch, volume, or rhythm can lead to major misunderstandings.
Can you give that I'm fine example again?
Sure, say I'm fine. Brightly, cheerfully means all is well. Say I'm fine. Flatly, maybe with a sigh.
Means you are definitely not fine.
Exactly. The words are identical, but the emotional message is opposite. The tone carries the truth. It shows speaking is only part of communicating.
Okay, this is all fantastic detail. We've got words, idioms, structures, nonverbal cues. Now, how do we pull it all together and get better? Let's talk about polishing emotional expression. What are the common mistakes learners make?
Good place to focus. One of the biggest is simply overusing general words. Sticking to happy, sad, angry.
Because they're safe and familiar.
Understandably so.
Yeah.
But English has this amazing richness. So instead of just, I'm very happy, push yourself. Try, I'm overjoyed, I'm ecstatic, I'm thrilled.
And instead of just I'm sad.
Maybe I'm heartbroken if it's a serious loss, or I'm disappointed if expectations weren't met, or I'm feeling melancholic for that quiet sadness. Making that conscious effort to use more specific words massively improves expression.
Okay, what's another pitfall?
Ignoring context. This is huge. You can't express emotions the same way in every situation.
Right, talking to your boss versus your best friend.
Exactly. What's natural and fine with friends might be totally unprofessional or inappropriate at work, or with strangers, or in a different cultural setting. You need to adjust your vocabulary, your tone, even how much emotion you show based on the social context.
That requires real awareness.
It does. And related to that, and the tone point, is misinterpreting tone, especially sarcasm or irony.
Where great job means terrible job.
Precisely. If you only hear the literal words, great job, and miss the flat, sarcastic tone or the eye roll, you'll get the completely wrong message. This happens a lot and can cause real confusion or offense if not understood.
Okay, those are key pitfalls. So knowing those, how do we actively improve? What are the practical steps?
It's definitely a journey, but very doable. First, consciously expand your vocabulary. Keep learning new emotion words and idioms.
Make lists. Use flashcards.
Whatever works for you. But actively seek out and try to use new words. Don't just recognize them, integrate them. Second, listen actively to native speakers.
In movies, podcasts, real life.
Everywhere. Pay attention not just to what they say, but how they say it. Notice their word choice, their idioms, their tone, their body language. Immerse yourself in how emotions are actually expressed.
Makes sense. What else?
The most important one, probably.
Yeah.
Practice speaking. You have to use it to own it.
Talk about your feelings, even if it feels awkward.
Yes. Find safe spaces, friends, language partners, conversation classes, and consciously try to use the emotional vocabulary you're learning. Describe how you feel about things. The more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
Get over the fear of making mistakes.
Absolutely. And that leads to the last point. Get feedback. Don't be shy. Ask native speakers, teachers, trusted friends. did that sound natural? Or how else could I say this?
Get corrections and suggestions.
Exactly. That external perspective is invaluable for refining your expression and catching unnatural phrasing. They can suggest better words or more common idioms.
So expand vocabulary, listen actively, practice speaking, and seek feedback. Sounds like a solid plan.
It's a continuous cycle of learning and applying.
And this whole deep dive, really, it's just kicking off that journey for our listeners, isn't it? Giving them the tools and awareness to start expressing feelings with more confidence and, well, connection.
Precisely. It's about more than just language rules. It's about enriching human interaction.
So maybe a final thought for people to chew on as they continue this journey.
Okay. Maybe consider this. Truly mastering emotional expression in English. It isn't just about learning lists of words or grammar patterns. Think of it more like unlocking a kind of secret code.
A secret code? To what?
To genuine human connection. When you can accurately weave the story of your inner world, your joys, your fears, your hopes, into conversations. And when you can also understand the subtle emotional stories others are telling, even without words. You transform simple talk into something much deeper. You move from just exchanging information to sharing real, profound human experiences. It's about bridging gaps through empathy, all powered by language.
Great job. Now you can talk about how you feel using real English words and phrases. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to Just Say It and leave a comment. How are you feeling today in English? Keep practicing, and we'll see you in the next episode.